A very good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to my channel. So today in this particular video, we are going to learn about India-Israel relationship. This video is going to be very important for UPSC prelims as well as mains examinations, and obviously very important for NDA, CDAs or any kind of defense examinations, including SSB interview as well as the lecturate topic. So here we go. Partition is central to the modern identity in the Indian subcontinent in the same way as Holocaust is identity to the Jews. So we all know that the Holocaust was a heinous and very bad timing for Jews, and similarly the partition was a black spot in the history of India. During the time of Holocaust, during the Hitler regime in Germany, millions of Jews were killed, and same way during the partition of India and Pakistan, the millions of people were killed. So in this particular video, we will talk about the India and Israel relationship in a very sequenced manner. Firstly, we will talk about the introduction, and thereafter history and the ancient relations between the two nations, followed by the recognition and the non-recognition of Israel. Then after that, diplomatic visits, followed by the bilateral ties between the two nations, and later on, the very importantly, the defense cooperation between the India and Israel. And at the end, we will conclude the video by a conclusion. So here is the introduction about the two relations. The two countries have an extensive economic, military and strategic partnership. After decades of non-aligned and pro-Arab policy, India formally established relations with Israel when it opened an embassy in Tel Aviv in 1992. So India opened its first embassy in the capital of Israel, Tel Aviv, in 1992, when P.V. Narasimha Rao became the Prime Minister of India, and who was the one who established the diplomatic relationship with various other countries, including Israel was one of them. And he also brought the LPG reforms, the liberalization, privatization and globalization reforms in our country. And the ties between the two countries have flourished due to common strategic interest and security threats. So two countries in today's world, they are becoming the natural friends because of the common strategic interest, because both the countries, they are surrounded by enemy nations. For example, India is surrounded by Pakistan and Israel is surrounded by its enemy nations such as Syria, Egypt, Jordan, Iraq, Lebanon, etc., even the Palestine. So due to the common interest and strategic interest, both the countries are becoming a very good friend. Now let's have a glances of history. Jews have lived in India for over 2000 years and have never been discriminated against. This is something unparalleled in human history. So you can see that Jews was one of the first foreign religions to arrive in India, but unlike in many parts of the world, have lived historically in India and without any instances of anti-Semitism from the local majority population. So the history of Jews in India is very old, about more than 2000 years. And this is also mentioned in the Hebrew Bible about the relations and the cultural links between India and Israel. And this is India is the only country in the world where Jews have not been discriminated. Otherwise, the Jews, they were discriminated, they were killed by every faith in the world. Even the Christians, Muslims never liked Jews. But in India, they lived thousands of years without any instances of anti-Semitism. Anti-Semitism is a term which means if anybody is against the Jews, anti-Jews, anti-Judaism is also known as the anti-Semitism. So talking about the ancient relations between the India and Israel, then both are the oldest living civilizations in the world. Both the countries, India as well as Israel, both are the oldest living habitable places in the world. Cities such as Varanasi and Jerusalem, these are the oldest inhabited cities in the world. And Sanskrit is the oldest language of India, and the same way Hebrew is the very old language in the Judaism in Israel. Several Jews refugees lived in India before the creation of Israel without any anti-Semitism against them. So this point I have already mentioned. Ancient culture and trade with India are also mentioned in Hebrew Bible. So I mentioned that there is a religious book of Jews that is called Hebrew Bible. So in that book there is mention about India-Israel relations, and both countries were under British rule before 1947 and the 1948. India got independence from Britain in 1947. In the same way, Israel got independence from United Kingdom in 1948. And so initially we mentioned about the Holocaust and the Judaism. Holocaust is a black spot in the history of Jews, and partition is the black spot of history of India. And here the Haifa war, the Battle of Haifa. Haifa is a city in the country of Israel. And during the World War I, many Indian soldiers who were the part of Indian British Army, they were sent to save the Haifa from Hitler Nazi Germany. So many Indian soldiers were died, and there is also the Smarak of Indian soldiers in the city of Haifa in the country Israel. Now, recognition of Israel. Initially, India did not recognize Israel as a nation and voted against it in United Nations Security Council in 1948 for Israel to get nationhood. So, when India was on the creation of a nationhood, when Israel was about to get a nationhood from Palestinian territory, then India voted against the nationhood of Israel because India was a pro-Muslim and pro-Arab nation. The first Israel consulate opened in Bombay in 1953 to take back Indian Jews to Israel. So initially I mentioned that thousands of Jews have been living in India since 2000 years old. So after the creation of Israel, Israel wanted to take back some Jews to Israel. So Jews, for this purpose, Israel opened their first consulate in India in the city of Bombay, where majority of Jewish population living in India currently. India supported the pro-Palestine Liberation Organization. So you can see after the independence of India, India was such a pro-Arab nation that it supported the Palestine Liberation Organization, which is an anti-Semitic organization against Israel. And also the politicians were afraid of losing a large Muslim vote bank, and due to the Arab policy, the India used to get the oil from the Arab countries, and various Indians, they used to work as a laborer or the skilled worker in Arab nations. So because of this fear and good relation between India and Arab, India did never recognize Israel as a nation. But later on, our Prime Minister Jawaharlal Nehru recognized that Israel is a fact and it cannot be denied. So in 1950, India recognized Israel in United Nations Security Council as an independent nation. But the moment come in 1991 when the realist Prime Minister of India, P.V. Narasimha Rao, became the PM of India. At that time, the India recognized Israel and established the diplomatic ties. And further, in 1992, in first Indian embassy in the capital of Israel, that is Tel Aviv, was opened. And in 2017, India and Israel celebrated the 25 years of its relationship. Now we will talk about some of the diplomatic visits between the two nations. You can see that Israel tried to approach and try to maintain good relation with India since very long time. In 1996, the first Israeli president visited India, and then again in 2003, the first Israeli prime minister who visited India. But after Narendra Modi became the Prime Minister of India, the relationship between the two nations increased dramatically and very fast. So you can see a regular visit of the Prime Minister or the presidents of the two nations. In 2015, Indian President visited Israel, and in 2016, the Indian Israeli President visited to India. And you can see it was the historic time in 2017 when the Prime Minister Sri Narendra Modi visited Israel, and his intention was very clear that we want to strengthen our ties with Israel. So he only went to Israel. Otherwise, if any Indian leaders they want to go to Israel, then they also had to visit Palestine, because India has always a supporter of Palestine. So, but the Modi intention was very clear that Israel is our favorite nation. So I will go only to visit Israel. And followed by in 2018, PM Benjamin Netanyahu visited India, and we also celebrated the 25th or the Silver Jubilee of India-Israel diplomatic ties. It was a very important organization, and during that time, various memorandum of understanding was signed, such as the memorandum of understanding for water conservation in India, for water utility in India. and various defense as well as the agriculture action plans. So now talking about the bilateral ties between the two nations, then in 2014 the relationship increased very dramatically between India and Israel, and India is the largest defense partner of Israel. If you compare the trade between the two nations, then India is the third largest partner of Israel in terms of trade in the Asia. But if we talk only the military cooperation, then India is the largest buyer of Israeli defense products. And the trade between the two nations increased from 200 million US dollar in 1998 to $6 billion in 2016. You can see how very fast it has increased after the arrival of PM Narendra Modi. And Israel is helping India in rejuvenation of Ganga action plan and also solving the problem of drinking water and water scarcity in India. Friends, we all know that Israel has developed a technology and they have developed a vehicle, a tractor type of car that will supply and that will filterize the seawater directly into the drinking water, and that will be a drinking water, a potable water. And finally, the India Israel, they are also cooperating on agriculture. So there was formed the India Israel Agriculture Action Plan, under which the various experts of agriculture field of Israel, they will be supporting and teaching and transferring the technology in terms of agriculture to Indian farmers. That will be very helpful for India in growing its production of the crops. Now coming to the most important aspect of this video, then it is the defense cooperation. The defense cooperation is the strategic importance between the two nations, India and Israel. Both the countries share the same type of neighbors. The neighbors of India as well as Israel, they are the extremist religious group. For example, in Pakistan, there are various extremist religious groups such as Jaish-e-Mohammed, Al-Qaeda, Taliban, etc. Lashkar-e-Taiba, etc. And if you talk about Israel, then it is surrounded by all the Islamic nations such as Palestine, Egypt, Iraq, Syria, Jordan, Lebanon, etc. And Hezbollah and Hamas are the terrorist organization. Hezbollah is a Lebanon-based terrorist organization which is funded by Iran, and Hamas is a Gaza Strip-based terrorist organization which is also supported by Palestine Liberation Organization. So the rise of Islamic extremism, terrorism in the both nations is the cause of concern, due to which both the countries they want to cooperate in the defense strategic. In 2016, Israel was the second largest source of defense equipment for India after Russia. So you can see in 2016, India purchased the highest amount of Israeli defense products after Russia. It was the second largest source of defense equipment for India after Russia. And India and Israel currently are working on various defense manufacturers deal such as Spike anti-tank missile, the Falcon AWACS UAV. It is an unmanned aerial vehicle drone which is also currently being used by Indian Air Force on the border of Ladakh with China, in the confrontation with China, in the Pangong Lake as well as in the Ladakh territory of Union Territory of Ladakh. And the Barak 8 missile, which is a very important missile, it is a laser guided missile. It was also used by Indian Air Force during the Balakot exercise. So this is a very good equipment. And currently it was in the news that the two nations, that is India and Israel, the two new Israeli assault rifles to be made in India, Arad and Carmel. So you can see Arad and Carmel are a type of guns. It is a very sophisticated and upgraded gun which will be provided to our Indian soldiers. And now under the Make in India program, these two Israeli companies, the rifle company, they have agreed to open their manufacturing base in India, and this will also boost our Make in India initiative, and very soon India will become the exporter of defense equipments. So from all these we have seen, so we will talk about the conclusion. So this is all about the relationship between the two nations. So because of their historical wrongs, both the countries are coming as a natural ally. So from above all this, we have seen that both the countries need to be very crucial partner, because both countries can help each other, especially the Israel can help India in various sectors. During our fight with Pakistan in 1999 Kargil war, Israel had supplied various weapons to India, and it had benefited India immensely. So you can see Israel is a true friend of India. Even the both nations share the intelligence input, such as the very important intelligence organization of India, that is RAW, Research and Analysis Wing, and the Mossad is the intelligence agency of Israel. Mossad is a very famous and the best intelligence agency in the world. There have been various operations done by Mossad, and it has proved itself the best and the very best in the world in all the intelligence agencies. And now the conclusion can be that both the countries need to increase their cooperation, and they need to, and India especially need to continue it the cause of Palestine. India should not deny Palestine, and India should keep supporting Palestine, the cause of Palestine, because by doing this, we can balance the relationship between Arab and Israel, because Arabic countries, they are very important partner for India, as millions of Indian workers, semi-skilled workers or the skilled workers, they are now working in the Arab nations such as Qatar, UAE, Saudi Arabia, Iran, etc. So we cannot deny Arab as well as we cannot deny Israel. So we need to balance the relationship between Arab and Israel. So this is all in this video. I hope you like it.